you guys, it's your girl T. So I know I'm late with this review, but as you guys know, I've been really busy with my acting classes, my videography classes. I'm trying to get everything for this web series on point. So I've been really busy, but I had to get this recap popping for you guys. So go ahead and get your teacups ready and let's go ahead and get the discussion popping. How you doing? All right, so in the opening scene, we have Moniz and Little Fizz. And Moniz is finally stepping up and spending time with her little muffin, Cameron, and he's so adorable. It's really good to see Moniz stepping up this week and actually doing something with her son. So Little Fizz decides to ask Moniz about her relationship with Broke Pennies. He wants to know basically how serious the relationship is because he found out that Moniz took Cameron to go meet up with Broke Pennies, and he's not really feeling that because he doesn't want a bunch of dudes around his son, which is understandable. So Moniz tells Little Fizz that basically the relationship is serious. They plan on being together for a long time. And so Little Fizz says, you know what, well, being that you feel like it's serious and, you know, you have my son around him, I also would like to meet him. So Moniz says, well, okay, well, let me go ahead and talk to Rich and see how he feels about that. You know what I'm saying? We can definitely get that, you know, going for you. Now, I find this whole situation really funny. Now, I will never take it away from Little Fizz. I think he's a great father. He's a good role model when it comes to parenting his son. I also find it hypocritical because you also introduced your son to Kamaya, who you yourself called a what? An appetizer. So my thing is, why are you introducing appetizers to your son, but then you're having an issue with Moniz introducing Broke Pennies to your son? You know, I feel like both parents should not be introducing people to their child unless they know that they're in a real serious relationship with that child. Because think about it, last season, little Cameron was getting very attached to Amanda, and now Amanda and Little Fizz are not together. So I think Little Fizz needs to also take his own advice as well. He's starting to sound like Future. How you doing? Moving on to the next scene. So the next scene, we have Miles and Mulan, honey. And this whole scene was boring, irritating, and got on my damn nerves. And I also couldn't take it seriously because as we all know, Miles done whoop Mulan's ass. You know, Miles tries to talk all soft-spoken and all innocent and stuff. But at the end of the day, he's a damn boyfriend abuser, okay? So this whole situation was crazy. Mulan feels like he should be a part of Miles's life, and he should have been there when Miles decided to be upfront and honest with his sisters and with Amber. And I don't understand why Mulan wants to involve himself in everything that Miles is doing. I definitely feel like Mulan is just way too damn controlling, and he needs to fall back. I hope these two do not come back next season because their entire storyline just got on my damn nerves. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, we have Little Fizz, and he's going to go meet with Nikki Baby. And Little Fizz is saying that he wants Nikki Baby to be one of his video girls in his new music video called Rub That Lotion or some ratchet shit. And the thing about Little Fizz that gets on my nerves is he's always talking about Nikki Baby's body. He's never talking about her intelligence, what she's doing with her life. It's just always about sex and, you know, rubbing shit on her body. And I feel like he just treats her like an object. I also feel like Miss Nikki Baby is not into Little Fizz at all. When Little Fizz proceeds to ask her to be in the music video, it's almost like she looked disgusted, like, no, I'm not gonna be in your music video. I have too much to do. I'm working on my lingerie line. You know, I just don't have time to do it. And so Little Fizz is sitting there looking salty. And my thing is, you know damn well if this was Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, or T.I. asking Miss Nikki Baby to be in their music video, Miss Nikki Baby would have jumped at it, but she obviously does not have the same feelings for Little Fizz as he has for her. So while Little Fizz is sitting there talking to Miss Nikki Baby, all of a sudden out the corner of his eye, he sees Shonda's ass stripping and shaking her ass on the pole. And he's like, is that my dude, Willie's woman? Like, I don't even want to look. I'm scared to look over there. I'm like, Fizz, stop being over damn dramatic. You know damn well you was watching her strip. You know damn well you was watching her cake slide up and down that pole. How you doing? So anyways, Nikki Baby proceeds to tell Little Fizz that yes, that is Willie's wife and that she has been stripping at the club now for the past week. So Little Fizz is really shocked about the situation because he feels like he doesn't understand why Shonda would feel the need to go back to stripping. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, we have Moniz and Broke Pennies, and Broke Pennies has decided to throw her little picnic, and it's cute. They're in some park, and Moniz decides to once again ruin the moment by asking Broke Pennies to do something else for her. So Broke Pennies is like, you know, what is it now? And Moniz is like, well, you need to meet with my baby daddy because my baby daddy wants to meet you. And I hate the fact that she calls Little Fizz her baby daddy. Like he's just some deadbeat who doesn't take care of his son. You need to address him as the father of your child. You know what I'm saying? Show some respect for that that man because he's actually stepping up and doing what you're not doing. You know what I'm saying? If anything, you're just the baby mama and he's the father of that child. You know, so I don't like the fact that she's always throwing him in the baby daddy category like he's some deadbeat. Now, Broke Pennies is really frustrated. He feels like Moniz is wanting him to do way too much, and it's just a bit much. First, he had to meet with the mother, then he met with Cameron, now he has to go meet with the baby daddy, and so he's asking himself, does he even want to be in this relationship? Because it just feels like it's just way too much pressure. For the life of me, I don't understand why Moniz has so much faith in this guy. Broke Pennies is not only a client, honey, but he's also the president of the Creep Squad in New York. I don't understand why Moniz is envisioning this relationship to be so much more than what it is, when it's clearly obvious that Rich is just there for the sex. And she even says it herself that they're not even having sex as much as they used to, and they're starting to feel like an old married couple. Now, as soon as she said that, I already knew in the back of my head, Rich Dollaz is getting ready to bounce because he done got what he wanted out of her, and now he's moving on to the next young chick. Moving on to the next scene. So the next scene, we have Omarion and April, and they're going to go sit down with Big Boy's radio station out here in LA. Basically, Big Boy's giving Omarion props. Basically coming back, his single was certified platinum, and Omarion is really, really proud of himself. And Big Boy asks, you know, April, will they be going on tour with Omari? And April says yes. You know, Omari does not want to be away from Baby Mega. They're definitely going to be on tour together. But you can tell that April's kind of feeling some type of way because she feels like she's kind of on the back burner. So then they end up going to the car and they're driving home. And April basically wants Omari to basically reassure her that, you know, he's going to help her with her music career and that he's going to be there for her. And Omarion, you can tell he's kind of irritated. He kind of wants April to kind of be in the background and do the mothering thing while he's out there doing his thing in the music world. You know, and I have no doubt that Omarion will eventually help April, but you can tell that right now that's not what Omarion's focus is. And he also feels like April, she's really into the music. She needs to be singing every day. She needs to be strengthening her voice. She needs to be putting in work to show him that she's ready to drop an album. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. Moving on to the next scene. So the next scene, we have Miss Hazel E, and she's meeting up with Princess Love, and basically she's inviting Princess Love to be a part of her fashion show, and she makes Princess promise that there's not going to be any drama between her and Tiara. Princess basically said that she's over all of the drama, all the nonsense with Tiara, and that she's not going to act a fool at the fashion show. She's there to showcase her new line, and that's it. And so Hazel E is saying that basically Tiara is having, you know, plastic surgery, and they don't even know if she's going to be part of the show. So a lot of folks are saying that Hazel was wrong, you know, for basically teaming up with Princess Love. But at the end of the day, people need to realize that this is business, and nobody's going to stop the show because some chick chose to have elective surgery. It's not like Tiara Marie had to undergo serious surgery. She chose to go get plastic surgery 2 weeks before the fashion show. And at the end of the day, Hazel E is about her business and she's about her coins. So she's not gonna let Tiara Marie or anybody else stop her from doing what she has to do. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, we have Willie, Little Fizz, and Nikki Baby and Shonda, and they're all meeting up at the club. Willie's getting ready to perform. And, you know, this whole scene just looks super staged. Basically, you know, Nikki Baby and Shonda are talking, and Willie's saying, you know, keep them entertained while I go up on stage. And Miss Nikki Baby's like, well, you know, she keeps me entertained enough at the club. She doesn't need to entertain me here. So now Willie's like, hold up, what do you mean she keeps you entertained at the club? And Miss Nikki Baby's like, well, she's one of my dancers. You didn't know that? And the whole time, Shonda's sitting there with this stupid ass expression on her face, you know, acting like she's shocked that Miss Nikki Baby said anything. And Little Fizz is looking like a best friend instead of a boyfriend. And he's sitting there, you know, just ready for the gossip, waiting for the tea, honey. So I'm just cracking up at this whole stage scene. So Little Fizz and Miss Nikki Baby decide to walk off because they claim they don't want to see any arguing. They don't want to be involved in that. So Shonda starts going off on Willie, and Willie's going off on her. And he's like, you know, why don't you have faith in me? And Shonda's like, you're a liar. You know, you claim that you got out your contract when you didn't, so I had to do what I had to do. You know what I'm saying? I had to keep our lights on and our bills paid. I mean, this bride is acting like they're just in destitute, and like she had no other reason, and like she had no other recourse but to go jump her ass back on the pole. Now Willie's upset and basically tells her, well, you know what? You need to leave. If you want to go strip, you need to go do that on your own, but you will not be doing that with me. So Shonda's like, what the hell are you talking about? And then she ends up getting up and she ends up hitting Willie in the face. She like literally mushes him and she runs out the club. So Willie gets up on stage and he starts singing. And Willie does, I will give him this, he still has it. He can still sing. He has a beautiful voice. Even though I'm not a fan of him or his girl on this show, but he can still sing and he does still have that voice. So now as he's leaving the club, all of a sudden Shonda's there. Now, bitch, you acted like you left an hour ago, but yet and still you right outside the club crying and shit. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with her face? This must be Funeral Face by MAC, because her makeup made no damn sense. Either her makeup was cheap as hell or her damn tears were ass acid because I just don't understand why her makeup was just running like that. That shit looked really, really nasty. And it was funny how Willie was low-key trying to hand her tissue to wipe that shit up off her face. So she's sitting there crying all these fake-ass tears and talking about how stressed she was and how she didn't want her family, you know, to be on the streets. And, you know, they left everything to come to LA and that, you know, she didn't know what else to do. And basically, Willie ends up forgiving her and tells her, you know, she does not need to strip. Everything is okay now. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, we have Rich Dollaz and Little Fizz. So Little Fizz is sitting there nervous as hell. He's acting like he's about to meet his daddy for the first time. And to be honest, Rich Dollaz and Little Fizz kind of look alike. He looked like he could be Little Fizz's father. So they're sitting there talking, and Little Fizz is saying that he's kind of concerned because he's heard a lot of rumors about Rich Dollaz and, you know, how he treats women and stuff like that. And he wants to know, you know, how real this situation is because he really loves his son and he doesn't want his son getting attached to him if Rich feels like he's not going to be there with Moniz. So Rich Dollaz keeps it real with Little Fizz and says, you know what, you know, I have a lot of love for Moniz. I have a lot of love for your son. But at the end of the day, I'm not trying to be his father. You're his father. I'll be Uncle Rich. I'm not going to let nothing bad happen to him. I'll look out for him, you know, if he's in danger. But as far as disciplining him or anything like that, that's between you and Moniz. I just want to be here and be cool with both of y'all, but I'm not trying to be a father to your son. Little Fizz ends up respecting the fact that, you know, Rich Dollaz is not trying to take his place. He's not trying to be a father to his child because clearly Cameron has a father, you know, and he just feels like he got to know Rich Dollaz a lot better. So I think that that was really good that Rich and Little Fizz were able to meet and talk and get to know each other better, as opposed to letting Moniz basically play both sides of the fence. I'm glad they got to sit down and talk it all out. Moving on to the next scene. So in the last and final scene, we have Miss Nikki Baby, Hazel E, Mulan, Princess, and basically they're getting all their fashion pieces together. They're doing a fitting with all the models, and Tia Marie ends up showing up with a bunch of paper, you know, designs and shit like that. And so Tia Marie's upset because now once she gets there, she's finding out that not only is Mulan involved in the fashion show, but also Princess. So now she's like, you know, what's up with this? She's supposed to be my girl, Hazel. Why are you palling it up with Princess? Why are you doing, you know, work with her? Why is she here? And so Hazel E is saying, you know what, Princess has a line. I'm in charge of this now because, you know, you've been out with your surgery and I needed them to come on board. So Tia Marie's saying, well, you know what, if Princess is going to be involved, I don't want to have nothing to do with this. And Princess is saying, you know what, it has nothing to do with me. It's because you're not ready. You know, what do you expect your models to be wearing down the runway? Do you expect for them to be wearing paper? So now they start getting up into it and Hazel E goes off on her. Like I told you, it's funny how plastic surgery can make a bitch about that life. Now, last year, Hazel E was the one getting run all over. Her self-esteem was super low. She didn't have them big ass titties. She didn't have no ass. She had a big ass gut on her. Now that she's undergone liposuction, now she's about that life. You know, it's really funny how Hazel E has been holding on to all this animosity and everything else from the whole Young Berg situation. Hazel E should have just kept it real from jump. Why even go back to being friends with Tia Marie if you have issues with her? Like, to me, that makes no sense whatsoever. You know, I feel like Hazel E used Princess to basically, you know, build herself up. She knew that she had wanted to confront Tierra about this stuff, so she was being fake and being Tierra's friend. But like they always say, revenge is a dish served cold, and I don't feel bad for Tierra at all because Tierra did the same exact thing to Princess. She pretended to be Princess's friend, all the while texting Ray J and being shady as hell. So the same thing that Tierra was doing to Princess got done to her. I think all these chicks are baddie as hell. Mulan had me cracking up during this whole episode because he was making so many faces. He kept looking like he wanted to say bruh. You know what I'm saying? Like he was getting just exhausted with them arguing and going back and forth. Like Chris Brown said, these hoes ain't loyal and ain't none of these hoes loyal to each other. I always find it funny how Miss Nikki Baby tries to act like she's better than these girls. You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm not trying to hear about sex in the parking lot. I just want to talk about my fashion show. She starts a lot of shit. She stirs a lot of stuff, but then she's quick to basically remove herself from the situation like she's innocent, like she's better than all these little catty ass females. I'm tired of all these chicks coming out with a clothing line. Now, I also find it funny how, you know, last week everybody was rapping or singing or in the studio. Now, all of a sudden this week, everybody's a fashion designer. This whole situation is a hot damn mess, but I cannot wait until next week's episode. So anyways, that was my recap for this week's episode of Love and Hip Hop Hollywood. So go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know your favorite part. What did you think about this week's episode? And how do you feel about everything that went down at the fitting? So let's go ahead and get the discussion popping. Go ahead and leave a comment. All right, deuces. Hey, you guys, it's your girl T. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share my videos. You can also visit Lovelyti.com to purchase any merchandise. Also, don't forget to click the boxes down below to watch any of my previous videos. Talk to y'all later. Deuces.